Ah, that good, precious, hot cup of coffee in the morning. OKJ is looking out my front window right now, and it is colder than someone putting an ice cube on your eyelids. It's so cold outside that I've been stuck in this house. Yes, I work out of this home and I'm usually home every day, but I always find time to get outdoors, to get some sunshine, to do all those things that keep me from having cabin fever. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is staying warm. Hello, Beach Lady. Hello, Michelle Flanagan. Hello, Madonna. Hello, Carolyn A. How are y'all doing? Well, maybe I'm late to the party of this latest news from the hussy. I was just scrolling through the news feeds, and Justin Lum, bless his heart, he's posted stuff on his X account, which was formerly Twitter. And there's also news articles from Justin Lum's news organization there. He stays on top of it. And I had to do a double take. But then again, why did I do a double take? How many damn times have we seen these crazy ass criminal people filing these motions to dismiss stuff? And by the way, I've got Opiate in here in the floor playing with Midnight, so he's probably going to do a lot of barking and all that stuff, but OKJ's just going to have to deal with it. But the news is that she has filed a motion to dismiss on the grounds of the Sixth Amendment, all right? How many of y'all know what the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution is? Well, KJ's going to break it down very quickly. Be nice. Be nice. Here. Take this. Okay. Y'all just got to excuse me. This is my life going on. I've got a 5-month-old miniature poodle, freaking gorgeous little boy running around this house right now. But anyway, the Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him or her, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in their favor, and to have the assistance of counsel to their defense, okay? So first thing that popped in my head was, why in the hell didn't she assert her right to defend herself down there in Idaho? She fired these dang attorneys in Arizona. She put shit off. Then, of course, the attorneys before they were fired, they did the right thing. She had to be tested for her competency because she's a freaking nut job, okay? And all of that played out. She wouldn't show up to a hearing, blah, 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 blah. She absolutely, in Idaho, she knew that if she could get off on that, that none of this other stuff would have mattered. And on top of it all, y'all, in Idaho, she knew it was more serious than it was going to be in Arizona because Chad Daybell was being tried for the death penalty. And at one point, she, before her competency, 10 months in the freaking spa there, they were considering death penalty on her. She let her attorneys take care of her in Idaho, but she ain't going to do it here. You know why? She ain't got shit to lose. She's going to go back to Pocatello Women's Prison, and she's going to get with it. She's going to get with it in the Pocatello there for the rest of her remaining days. Gene P says, Opie is so adorable. I had a blonde Labradoodle named Buster. They are the sweetest dogs. Yes. Oh, Vix Tex says because she's a con artist. Hi, Vix Tex. I hadn't seen you in a while. Hi, Susan Honecker. Hi, Chris Arnett. Hello, Tina. You staying warm? Oh, yeah. Well, Gene P, she's filed it. You can find it online, and I highly recommend all the Rays and a few others that have been along this journey with us. I highly recommend you go and actually read her hand scribble crap. Okay? Now, let's just be clear. All these stupid ass people that get themselves in trouble are going to file some motion to dismiss. So it's not so provocative. We knew it was going to come sooner or later. But it's just this whole idea that they are so busted. She's so busted in all areas of her life. And you know what I mean when I say busted, right? They got to at least put it out there and put it on the record. But the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution protects the rights of criminal defendants. It guarantees the right to a fair trial. This is in summary, the right to legal representation and the right to confront witnesses. And so she wants her fair trial, right? She has not given up her speedy trial crap. Please behave. Please behave. Here, take that. So y'all are going to get to hear Opie this whole time, but I was not going to put him anywhere with this cold weather. He's got a little pen right here by the front door where we let him out from time to time. The bottom line is he's in here. He's going to bark. He's going to disrupt the whole thing because that's what little 5-month-old puppies do. So I'm going to continue. The rights guarantee speedy and public trial. The government cannot delay a trial unnecessarily, and that's a good word, isn't it? Unnecessarily. She is totally in her motion, not even taking into consideration that she's the one this shit's been put off. But by the way, in her motion, she wants to talk about why haven't you added Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux's cases? Why can't we all just do this all at once? Why can't we do it? I think it was strategic by Arizona. Not that they didn't think they had a case for Charles Vallow, but she's going to be put through the freaking ringer. And I'm glad she is, because she thought when she left Arizona that she was going to be in the free and clear. She could put all this off on her nut job brother, Alex, and that be that. An impartial jury. The jury must be impartial and selected from the district where the crime occurred. Is she going to file a change of venue? Is she? Could she? Yes. And guess what happens when you do that? It puts the trial off a little longer, but by God, she wants a speedy trial. Will she? That's a question, is it not? Informed of the charges. The defendant must be informed of the nature and cause of the charges against them, and I guarantee you, Lori Hussey Daybell knows exactly what she's being charged with, and she knows exactly inside of that demon-possessed body of hers exactly how damn guilty she is. But she's going to play along. She's going to do her thing. She's got to get the limelight. She's going to do it all, y'all. Confront witnesses. The defendant has the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses against them, and she's juicy for it, y'all. She's ready. She wants to do whatever she can in her cross-examination, which, by the way, she could have done that with experienced attorneys. She could have put her 2 cents with her attorney saying, I want you to do this and I want you to do that, which was on full display in Idaho. You know it, until Archibald talked about how stupid Chad Daybell's books were, and she went off the deep end. The bottom line is that she wants to run this show. She wants to file a motion to dismiss. Well, like I said in the live stream title, she can shit in one hand and hope in another. Compulsory process. The defendant has the right to call their own witnesses and compel witnesses to testify in some cases. So, who is Lori Hussey Daybell going to call? Huh? Who is going to step up to the plate? Who's she going to subpoena? She sure as hell can't, she can't call Alex. She can't call Chad. And you know what? That's been the whole thing online. People are like, what if she gets Chad just so she can be close to him and brings him to Arizona? Folks, he's in the appeals process. He's not, his appeals attorneys are going to say, you stay the hell away from that hooker. So that's not going to happen. I know we'd all love to see it, but it's not going to happen. So, in my opinion, she will try to go through some vein of something with Janice and Summer, which are the ones that are basically giving her the Twinkies on commissary or whatever the hell else she wants. And really, ultimately, do you think that Lori, the hooker, is going to know who to call and subpoena to come to her defense without some freaking help? She's got that woman, that advisor woman. It's so blatantly wrong to sit there and say, I'm going to represent myself, but oh, by the way, I get this person that helps me along that the freaking state of Arizona has to pay for. Which is it? You want to represent yourself, or you want to call a little help in there? The woman can't stand on her own 2 feet. She never has. She never will. The bottom line is you've seen a pattern just in what we know. She's used up every person that's ever been in her stratosphere. Whether she sucked the money out of them, whatever she's done, it's always been to use others. And she damn well used her own damn children to whatever ends she wanted, and she didn't care one damn bit about them, protecting them, or anything else. She says over and over and over again, all I've ever done is protect my children and all her family members. Oh, that's Lori's such a good mother. She protects her kids. Oh, yes, she sure as hell didn't. She murdered their ass. Hey, be nice. Assistance of counsel. The defendant has the right to legal representation. The state must provide a lawyer if the defendant cannot afford one. And she's been given good attorneys, from my understanding, from the get-go when she got transferred up there to Arizona. But no, she's the freaking lowercase g that can do a better job. I'll tell you what it's all about. They don't want to go down the same damn Sarah Boone road that made Sarah Boone want to represent herself. Sarah Boone wanted this narrative, and Lori's in a delusion. She does not want, I mean, my God, y'all, she's already blaming her own daughter. Come here. Come here. He's going to have to sit up in my lap, y'all. He's going to have to be good. All right, here, let me give you a cookie. You want a cookie? Okay. So, what's going on today? Well, on January the 8th was when she went to send it to be filed. Okay? So you put that in perspective. I think that in terms of the speediness of her filing stuff at her last hearing, she talked about how she could give her investigator, the one that the state of Arizona is paying for, she could give him the stuff and send it on or whatever through her investigator. But it was January the 14th. No, that's when she wrote all this out on January 8th, and then on January 14th, it was stamped at the clerk's office. So that tells you right there, what, 6 days. They can't really run things through the weekends. You got to wonder whether if she'd have kept an attorney, whether that attorney would have been able to go over there quickly and do that. That is something she has given up. And yet she wants to bitch about it. She's the one that wanted to do it. She's the one that's in control. Yes, Big Stick. She even blamed JJ's killing on Tylee. Right. Thank you, Rachel. I thought Lori wanted to pin the murder of JJ on her and Dave. On her and Dave? Who's Dave? David Warwick? She will do or say anything no matter how nonsensical it is, says Jet Set J. Liza Joe, good morning. So, I'm going to read this, and it's really kind of hilarious. It is, but at the end of her motion to dismiss, we might just get a little more justice through understanding, not only for the mere fact that I've started out with the 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution that she absolutely is trying to use as her reasoning for, she's saying she's been in custody all this time and all that. But if any judge, y'all, let's use some common sense here. These judges know I've got to do these things, but there's got to be real things that can pass muster through an appeals court or anything like that. I've got to be able to know that whatever decision in putting off a trial, y'all look at how long they put off Chad Daybell and Lori's trials in Idaho. He himself, he said, oh, I don't need a speedy trial and all that. She tried to assert hers, but the bottom line is she got a fair trial in Idaho, and her ass is nailed to the wall, and so is that damn asshole Chad Daybell. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to read this because this woman, she, when I see stuff like this, I think, okay, she's in her jail cell. She's in her jail cell. She's been given formatted blank documents because her hand, she's been given that. So I guess her advisor attorney there is helping her with that, giving her formatted documents so that they can be filed. It's not like she's doing it on a regular piece of notebook paper. But anyway, this is a motion to dismiss for lack of a speedy trial. And it says, the defendant, Lori Daybell, requests this court to dismiss case number CR 2022-001242-001 with prejudice. Okay? And now she goes into this thing about the facts. And really, you can put whatever the hell you want in a legal document to be filed in any freaking court jurisdiction in the United States, and you can say all damn day long that that's a fact, and maybe some of it is, but not always. Just because you put it, the fact is, number one, the defendant was extradited from Idaho on November 30th of 2025 to Arizona. That is a fact. Two, the defendant was arraigned for 2 separate charges on December 7th of 2023. That is a fact. 3, a trial date was set at that time for a speedy trial on April 1st of 2024. A speedy trial just commences within 150 days, right? And that is a fact. That was what it was. Now, here's number 4. The judge her judge deemed these charges complex, which gives the state 270 days to give the defendant a speedy trial. And there you go, right there. The judge deemed the charges complex and gave the state this extra time. And she didn't have a problem with it then. When she had attorneys, she could have said, no, I don't want this to go on any longer. And she wouldn't have got her way, but at least she could have said, this is what we want to say. Number 5, the new trial date was set for August 1st of 2024. With the last possible day to begin trial, September 3rd of 2024, to be in compliance with a speedy trial within 270 days. And then number 6, the former defense team filed a motion for continuance, which the defendant objected to on the record. Okay, there it is, right? She objected to that. But it was granted, and a new trial date was set for February 24th of 2025. So why? Why would a judge go ahead and say, all right, you defense attorneys, y'all are saying that y'all want this, let's see, the defendant objected to a motion for a continuance. Why didn't he say, no, defense attorneys? Your client is sitting here objecting, and not only objecting, but putting it on the record. That's a question, is it not? And then a Rule 11 was also filed by a former defense team, further delaying the trial, and a new trial date of March 31st, 2025 was set. Rule 11. Okay, Rule 11. There was rules in all of this. And it was filed, and a new trial date of March 31st of 2025 was set. And then in bold letters, she says, it has been 314 days since the defendant was arraigned. And has she included yet that she has done all this shit about objecting, and her defense is really trying to defend her? It's not like they're trying to take her ass out. They're saying something's wrong with this woman and all of that. And then on January 10th of 2025, y'all, this was just a week or so ago, Judge Bursky declined to set a trial date on the Brandon Boudreaux deal. She lists the case number on that. And I think it's funny as hell. I think she needs to go through the ringer twice. I think adding both of those in there, and this is a different situation. I understand JJ, Tylee, and Tammy, right? Down in Idaho. They all consolidated all that together. But I think it's funnier than hell. I do. I hope she enjoys the Arizona freaking jail there until she's done. The trial date that is set on March 31st, 2025 is for the Charles Vallow. She gives the case number, and she says, only. It's only Charles Vallow. It's not Brandon Boudreaux and Charles. It's only for that one. Well, she should understand that's enough. That's a damn enough. She needs to freaking eat it. It is the position of the defense that no trial date has ever been set for Brandon Boudreaux's. What is it? The defense. She's the only defense, and she's a freaking nut job. The state of Arizona has had plenty of time to figure this out, and you and I both know. It took Arizona long enough to get her ass charged, first and foremost. But they were waiting for the adjudication of the Idaho case. At no time has the state ever been willing to combine these two charges into one trial. And again, she can shit in one hand and hope in another. The state of Arizona can do whatever the hell they want to do in their charging documents. They can have as many freaking trials as they want of the hussy. In fact, how about this? Try this on for size. She's milking the freaking government, state and federal, and committing fraud, Social Security fraud and all that. Why don't the federal government take her ass into federal court? Then she's really going to know all about a speedy trial, because the feds ain't going to mess around. Therefore, why did they not schedule two trials at the arraignment? Why didn't they do that? They don't have to. They don't have to. She was arraigned on the murder of Charles Vallow. They had the other charges with Brandon. And yes, some people say, well, it just makes more sense that both of them together. That way, you know, the families don't have to go to two trials. And I get that part right there. But also, the enormity of what happened to Charles Vallow, it should stand alone. Charles Vallow deserves full-throated, complete, and utter adjudication with all eyes focused on Charles Vallow. The man deserves it. The same for Brandon Boudreaux. The state has had 5 years to figure this out. Well, how long did it take her and her stupid brother and that nut job gherkin Chad Daybell to conspire to murder all these people? I don't care how long she sits in jail, because ultimately her ass is going back to Pocatello. You're being so good. Yes, you are. He's sitting in my lap being good, y'all. And then it talks about if the state would have arraigned the defendant on one charge and then arraigned the defendant on the second charge 1 month later, then two speedy trials could have been maintained. The state failed to do so. So these are her ideas. She's saying, I want to give you some reasoning coming out of my nut job head. Well, of course, yeah, they could have arraigned me and then a month later arraigned me on the other one. But they haven't done it. Why ain't they arraigning me on Brandon Boudreaux's stuff yet? Why ain't they doing it? Because you know what? The state of Arizona is going to put her through the meat grinder. That's what they're going to do. And I'm going to be there watching it with the Rays, and we are going to watch her do a double whammy right there. I hope it goes so far up her dang yin yang, she doesn't even know how to walk anymore. By March 31st of 2025, it will have been 394 days since the defendant was arraigned. The defendant has never, and she puts it in bold, never waived her right to a speedy trial. The Sixth Amendment declares Like she's some freaking damn holier than thou queen. The Sixth Amendment declares. Did she give a rat's ass about anything about the United States Constitution, local laws, state laws, federal laws? She didn't care. But this goes back to what we've talked about many times. These diabolical serial killers and murderers of innocent life, when they go all against it until they use it, they get their rights. They get their rights. Well, what about the victims? What about the victims? The Sixth Amendment of the United States declares, in all criminal prosecution, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. And then she goes, and I'll show y'all this. I want y'all to look it up online yourself. But in the sides here, she's putting case law there like she knows what the hell she's talking about. Who in their freaking right mind is going to put a motion to dismiss and talk about, well, there were other options. You could have done this. You could have done that. That's not the question. The question is, what legality would invoke a judge to dismiss the charges against that hooker? But she starts off, she says, in the state of Arizona, the designated speedy trials to be within 150 days of arraignment. And then she says, if the case is deemed complex, which it was, then the date of the speedy trial is extended to 270 days from the arraignment, which it was. No trial has ever been scheduled for Brandon Boudreaux. She's listing out the case number, but I'm going to put his name in there. Therefore, the defendant's constitutional rights have been completely violated by the state of Arizona. Okay, let's just stop here. Okay, you got Charles Vallow, you got Brandon Boudreaux. What she's trying to say is when she got brought and extradited to Arizona, there were two sets of charges, one for Charles Vallow and one for Brandon Boudreaux. But she was only arraigned on the Charles Vallow. Does that mean that the state should have went ahead? Because they had enough. They had enough for her arraignment in the Charles Vallow deal. It's not like because she was charged with Brandon Boudreaux stuff that she had to go through that process at the same time or within a month like she says. No, they were focusing in on Charles Vallow. Okay? They can pull that charge that helped bring her from Idaho to Arizona. They can pull that out their ass anytime and arraign her on the Brandon Boudreaux deal. They can do that because they've already got what? They got her ass to the wall with arraignment of Charles Vallow. So they can take all the time they want in terms of arraigning her on Brandon Boudreaux because she's there over something else, Charles Vallow. She wants them to go ahead and arraign her on Brandon Boudreaux. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Maybe her advisor there is saying, well, you know, if we can get an arraignment for Brandon Boudreaux, then we can keep count of how many days till his, and it's all going to be messed up because you're going to be in the middle of this trial with Charles Vallow, and it's going to run past this stuff and all of that. They want to create a minutia and all that, and the state of Arizona has looked at that, and they understand that. They had a reason for doing what they did by arraigning her. From the day they arraign her, there's this whole thing about speedy trial, but there are little components that can stop that. And those components are she's a freaking dang mental case and a freaking demon-possessed woman. And they had to establish that. Think about it like this. She was totally against this competency stuff. And if she would have got her way with that and they just moved on and all that, well, that could come back. She might object at the time about, oh, I don't want competency hearing. I want to just move forward and stuff. But then when she got convicted, what could she do? Turn around and say, they shouldn't have done it. They should have had a competency hearing. And this is a good appeal issue. She is fork-tongued, y'all. Fork-tongued. She says, no trial has ever been scheduled for Brandon Boudreaux. Therefore, the defendant's constitutional rights have been completely violated by the state of Arizona. How can her constitutional rights be violated because they didn't arraign her with Brandon Boudreaux and she was arraigned with Charles Vallow? Brandon Boudreaux at this moment makes no difference in terms of legality because they've got her ass again with Charles Vallow. Whatever else goes on in that. Whatever else goes on in that. Do you think, let's just, a little common sense here. Do you think that the state of Arizona is going to make the decision to separate Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux and also not even arraign her on Brandon Boudreaux? She's in the focus of Charles Vallow's murder right now and not know that they can do that legally. Think about that. That would be the most, if what she was saying was correct, then somebody wasn't doing their homework, which in my view, the state of Arizona knew what they were doing. At no time has a trial been given for Brandon Boudreaux. She says it again. She said it 3 times already. At no time has a trial ever been scheduled for it. The defendant's constitutional rights have been violated. The government must follow its own rules. An evidentiary hearing is requested, and then she signs it, Lori Daybell, on January 8th of 2025. Now, what's important about that? She not only is asking in her motion, a motion to dismiss, on the tail end of it, she says, I request of an evidentiary hearing. If she thought that her argument about her Sixth Amendment rights and all that crap, if she thought that that was going to pass and the case was going to be dismissed, why in the hell is she asking and requesting an evidentiary hearing? A criminal evidence hearing is a court proceeding where a judge determines which evidence will be presented to a jury during a criminal trial. Most of y'all know this, but I'm doing a little justice to understanding for myself and perhaps maybe some that don't know. The jury is not present at this hearing. What happens at criminal evidence hearings, the prosecutor may present testimony from the police officer who arrested or investigated the defendant. Now, let's just stop here. An evidentiary hearing. All right? Some of us saw that with Corey Richins. We've seen it in other places where it's not the preliminary hearing like Chad Daybell had. It's an evidentiary hearing. And guess what, y'all? She's wanting this because she wants to narrow down everything that's very complex in her pea brain so that she can get out there and get used to being the defender, the one that's getting up asking the questions and stuff. And wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if the judge allowed her an evidentiary hearing and it was open? Now, we don't know if it would be closed or what, but I would think that she would want that. It says the defense attorney may cross-examine the prosecution's witnesses. I highly doubt that's going to happen. And I'm waiting for the state there to, give their answer to her motion to dismiss and her request for an evidentiary hearing. The judge decides which evidence will be presented to a jury, what types of evidence are used in criminal trials. So, she wants this is just an opinion, she wants a kind of like I don't know, what do you call it? A rehearsal. She wants a rehearsal. She already has the evidence. She already has the discovery. She has every damn bit of it. But yet she's wanting an evidentiary hearing, not to inform herself. She's wanting it so that she can pick apart anything that she can to say, no, that's just too prejudicial. Or, if you're going to show these photos, you can't show the really gruesome ones. You can only show these, and they fight about it and all this and that. I'd love to see that myself. I'd love to see how this woman, of course, her advisor's doing all the work. So, testimonial evidence, a witness's statements or testimony given under oath. I don't think if this evidentiary hearing happened that they would bring in the witnesses. I think that the state would say, this is what we intend for, say, for instance, Kay Woodcock to testify about. And then they would mow it over and all that and decide whether it enters or not. Corroborating evidence. Evidence that strengthens or confirms other evidence. There's going to be a shitload of that, y'all. There's going to be a lot of corroboration of that evil hussy's diabolical plan to murder her husband for $1 million of life insurance. Circumstantial evidence. Evidence that implies the defendant is guilty, such as eyewitness testimony or fingerprints. And on the flip side of that, circumstantial evidence that she might be able to provide that would rebuff that and say she's not guilty. She wants to look at evidence to say whether it's authentic or not. She wants to look at evidence, she wants to know how the state is going to plan all this. That's what she, okay. Who accidentally did that? Notorious TBG says it's disgusting and encourages other killers in the future. Liza Joe says make Lori look crazy and never mind her religious stuff. Notorious can see how you think about that, but not true. I'm all about justice. So y'all are all talking within each other. Let's all stay respectful, okay? We don't have to agree with one another at all. None of us do. And for anyone who's visiting or anything, I'm glad you're here. About this channel, this channel isn't for everyone, but everyone is welcome. I hope that you can get something, a little justice through understanding. So, Charlie says death penalty. Well, that right there, Charlie, is a good point. I know that's what you're trying to allude to, that she needs the death penalty and all that. But Arizona's not going for that, are they? Not that I'm aware of. They're not going for the death penalty. And so maybe that explains another reason why Lori wants to represent herself. There's not that much at stake, considering she's already busted and going to be in a jail cell for the rest of her days in Pocatello Women's Prison for murdering her children and Tammy Daybell. And she's going to go through the ringer, y'all. So, again, she wants that evidentiary hearing. Y'all have watched these evidentiary hearings. Specifically, one that, in my mind, is the Corey Richards. And she can sit there and say, this case needs to be dismissed because I'm not getting my speedy trial. But she's not explaining in her facts, because she did list a lot of facts, but she left out the reasons why her competency had to be taken care of. She fired her defense attorneys. That takes time to get, herself, if for nothing else, now that she's the defender of herself, she obviously should, if I was her attorney, I would be putting this trial off, just like they did with Chad Daybell. I know that people don't want to hear that none of us like that Chad Daybell, he said, I'm going to put this off, I'm going to put this off, I'm going to put this off. The bottom line is that Lori, she thinks that this speedy trial thing is going to get her off the hook. And it just ain't. And the reason it's not going to get her off the hook is because I venture to say that these state attorneys that are prosecuting her, they're doing their job. They're doing their job now. Maybe they weren't doing it back when her and Alex took off to Idaho. They should have nailed their ass at the wall for nothing else. They should have took those kids when a gun is going off and killing someone inside of a house and you have minor children there. They should have brought CPS in. They should have done something to hold them up. They couldn't say don't leave town. You can't, we see that all the time on these crime shows and stuff. Don't leave town and all this and that. But you can't do that legally. Lori hauled ass to Idaho to be with her little itty bitty gherkin. She went and she continued this crime spree. John Pryor absolutely brought it out, just as I had said several years ago. But because Arizona did not do anything to prosecute Chad Daybell, John Pryor did what? He wasn't doing anything, or they would have charged him. And thus, John Pryor could argue that it was Lori and Alex, and Chad was just this innocent person. Chad Daybell's a piece of crap. Hello, Kathy Barella. Lori still has legal counsel advising her, right? Yes, Liza Joe. She does. She wants everyone to think she's in control and that she's doing all this. But, this goes back to just common sense of, What gave her the idea to do a motion to dismiss on Sixth Amendment rights of the Constitution of the United States? Was it that big, thick green book of legal terms and definitions and stuff like that? Was it her copy of the Arizona Rules of Criminal Procedure? I guarantee you, her advisor's telling her to do all this. And, now I kind of feel like the advisor's not doing the work. They're just telling her, you need to do this. And maybe I'll give you the little codes and stuff to put on your paperwork. And I'll give you a formatted document that can be filed. Remember, y'all, when, you remember this. I hate to even bring it up, but remember when Lori Hellis filed all that stuff in Idaho and it kept coming back, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that to align with the way that you're supposed to by law in that state? Well, this advisor is telling her things to, this motion to dismiss. We knew it was going to come. It's just, to me, it's kind of funny because she gives no other reason other than the Sixth Amendment. She can say it's her speedy trial, and that's attached to the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. And she can sit there and say, well, you could have done this instead of what you are done. And I'm telling y'all look at me when I'm telling you, it is burning her up that Brandon Boudreaux's case is back here and she's having to face the one case laser focused through all the prosecution of Charles Vallow. She hates that. She wanted it all. She wanted the meal deal. She just wanted to get it done, get it over with. She wanted to be able to have Brandon's case in there too, to muddy it all up, use some of the stuff from Brandon's evidence and all that toward Charles Vallow and vice versa to muddy the whole crap up. Y'all remember us talking about it. How are they going to adjudicate when Chad and Lori were joined? How are they going to do that? Well, the same can be said about how would they have been able to adjudicate if they would have had Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux under one case number? How would that have looked? Would they bring witnesses to the stand that could corroborate both aspects at the same time? Would they have had to have a totally different set of witnesses for Charles and Brandon? Well, just think about it like this. When did Brandon and Charles overlap in terms of being around each other and all this and that? We know the answer to that. We know that Charles had gone to Brandon and Brandon had gone to Charles. We know that there was a lot of things. And once I get through this pretext of what she has filed in this motion to dismiss, and I've had time to think about it, we are going to look at Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux and how they overlapped, how it all played out in the whole grand scheme of it, and why the state of Arizona, who are a hell of a lot smarter than old KJ, was able to say, we've got to go this route. We want to prosecute about Charles Vallow, and then we'll go and from there. Some people would say, well, maybe they've got to find something to make sure it sticks. And if for some reason, y'all, that the jury came back, that enough evidence there, which we know that's not true, but let's just for sake of argument, and she got off the hook with Charles Vallow, guess what? They got in another arraignment. It's Brandon Boudreaux. And the chances of two separate juries in the same state talking about two separate victims, both of them coming back non-guilty, y'all, I don't see it. So either way, think about it like this. She gets convicted of murdering Charles Vallow. She gets convicted of attempted murder on Brandon Boudreaux. Okay? What happens? The convictions are there. The families do get justice, and that's what I look toward. And Charles Vallow deserves that. He deserves for everyone to know that damn hooker murdered him. That is the priority. But ultimately, if you look at this through a lens of legality and all that, they're just convictions in Arizona. Her ass is back in Pocatello. Doesn't mean that the convictions there are any less than what she's having to live the rest of her days in Pocatello Women's Prison. Doesn't mean that. But I think, and I know you think, that there are going to be people on the stand that Lori's going to try to cross-examine, that it's going to be like slicing a freaking hot knife through butter from the witness stand with truth, real truth, that she cannot run from. She cannot hide behind that big stupid ass unicorn ponytail and her stupid jumping up and down crap. She's not going to have her attorneys all around protecting her. She's going to have a little advisor. That's what she's going to have. But it's going to get really hard on her. It's going to get so hard, in my opinion, she will say, let the attorneys take over. Well, that right there, if that comes true, and KJ's right about that, when it gets too hard for her attorneys step up, the trial continues, a continuance. Will those same attorneys, when found guilty of Charles Vallow's murder, if they're either there or they're not, the advisor, whatever, she gets convicted of Charles Vallow, who's going to step up? Who's going to step up? Her advisor's going to step up and help her again in Brandon Boudreaux's deal there? Her advisor obviously is not going to be, Lori ain't going to be able to look at that advisor after she's convicted and say, oh, thank you, advisor, I've been convicted. I really have all kinds of trust in you. But you and I both know she's so vain. Well, I got convicted of Charles Vallow stuff, but I've learned so much and I've got so much experience. And then now that I'm going to be arraigned on Brandon Boudreaux's stuff here, I'm going to bring it up a notch. I'm going to bring it up a notch. So, in closing, KJ wants each of the Rays on here to go, and I'll put them on the community wall, okay, so that you can see Justin Lum, best dang journalist for this whole, him and Nate Eaton, but you know Justin, this is in his state, and just look at it, and you can form your own thoughts about things. It's funny, is it not, when she talks about the facts in her motion? A lot of those facts are there, but she leaves out the other stuff in between. It's just poster child evilness. Throw in a little truth in there. Throw in some facts, but leave out the other shit, you know? That's how they do it. That's how she does it. And really, in closing, the judge has read her motion to dismiss. She's going to get a response from the state of Arizona, which we'll get together on. And also, will this evidentiary hearing happen? She's a dumbass. I wouldn't do it. And even if it does happen, it might be closed door. Might be open, but narrowly focused on certain things. Who knows? Leave your comments. I love you all. Thank you, Cindy Bullock and other mods on here. Hello, Charlie. Kathy Barella, Jet Set J, Liza Joe, Fancy Nancy. Thank you so much, Fancy. Notorious TBG, Mary Sadler, Vix Tex, Randy Hall, all of y'all. Thank y'all so much. And leave your comments. Let me know what you think. Bring it out. Put it in the comments. You ain't got to watch this again. Just put it in the comments after I post it. And let me know, because anytime you can educate OKJ over things I'm not thinking about, it helps me. It helps me overall get justice through understanding. So have a great day. Stay warm and keep on looking.